Hey guys, hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is Kshitij, aka The Rustic Wanderer. Today's video is going to be another cooking video because I just finished editing a vlog for my other channel. Well, it's not a vlog, it's a video. And now I'm really hungry and outside is really cold, so it's time to cook something. So let's quickly go into our kitchen and see what we have on the menu for today. So let's get started. Okay, so I found semolina in my store. So let me quickly tell you what semolina is. First of all, it doesn't matter what brand you get. Could be any brand. Usually you're gonna find it in an Oriental store or an Asian supermarket nearby if you have access to one. And semolina is essentially, when you're processing wheat and you're milling it to convert that into flour. So just before flour, you get like a fine or slightly coarse version that's called semolina. And a while ago, I made a video which I'll link up in the I button above, where I made two versions of vermicelli, sweet and savory one. And I'm going to do the same thing here as well because I am craving some Indian dessert which I don't have access to around me, so I can make a quick and easy dessert which is actually very healthy and good for the winters. And I can also make a main course which is savory because I'm kind of hungry and it's about coffee break time. Well, actually it's about 6 p.m. but so I'm trying to avoid coffee and try to have a snack which I can also eat for dinner, doesn't matter, or even breakfast for tomorrow. So let's see what all ingredients we need for making the savory version first, and then in the second part of the video we're gonna make the sweet version. Okay, so in terms of ingredients, we're gonna need onions. These are finely diced and chopped onions, white onions. You could also use red onions if you have access to them. These are dried curry leaves because I also have a plant that I'm trying to grow fresh curry leaves in, and it's kind of struggling really hard because it's harsh winter conditions at the moment. So I found some dried curry leaves in an Asian supermarket nearby. I'm going to use them. Then of course semolina, also known as suji, and this could either be pre-roasted or you could roast it yourself. I'll tell you both versions and how to proceed with them depending on what version of suji you have in just a second. Then we have cumin seeds. Well, forget that this is a Basilico bottle, but inside we have mustard seeds, so I'm going to use that. Then for cooking, you could either use ghee if you have access to it, or you could use regular cooking oil, depends on whatever you have access to. And you need lots and lots of veggies. I was lazy, so I got some veggies that you could get in the salad section in a supermarket nearby. But if you have veggies, then you could go for bell pepper, you could go for French beans, there could be cabbage, capsicum, which is bell peppers. Any other vegetable that you think is nice. You could even add some leafy greens like spinach or anything else in general. You could also add some tomatoes, but I ran out and now it's too cold to go outside, so I'm just gonna stick to this kind of ingredients. Also, in terms of spices, I'm gonna keep it very simple. I'm gonna use turmeric, red chili, coriander powder, and then salt. Okay, so as I said, you could have access to two kinds of semolina or suji. One is pre-roasted, one is the one that you have to roast by yourself. So if it is the one that you have to roast by yourself, then what you could do is before you start cooking anything else, you could use a pan, add a bit of ghee or oil of your choice, and slightly roast the semolina. If you want, you could also roast it if you have access to a non-stick pan. You could roast it without any oil or ghee or anything of the sort, but if you add, for instance, ghee specially, you'll get a really nice aroma. So it's better to roast it in there, but it's your personal preference at the end of the day. Since I already have roasted semolina, I'm going to proceed with making the masala base first, and then we're going to add semolina and cook it afterwards. So let's get preparing and let's get cooking. And for cooking, I'm gonna switch to my awesome lanyard setup again. So you get a first person view of my gas stove and you can cook with me. So it kind of feels like a follow along video. Okay, so welcome to the first person view into my kitchen. I have taken about 1 to 1.5 spoonfuls of ghee in here, and as you can see, it's a bit frozen because it's winter's going on. So we're gonna turn on the heat and we're gonna melt the ghee first. At this time, if you have access to it, what you can also add is a bit of hing, which is really good for your digestion. So I've already added it, but it's hard to tell in here. So I told you it's a sort of a secret spice that goes in here. Okay, now we're starting to get a really nice aroma of the cumin and the mustard seed. So we're going to add a spoonful of ginger garlic paste. And this is going to start splattering really fast. So you have to be really quick. And when it starts to splatter, you should throw in your onions immediately and start mixing. While the onions are getting roasted and they will probably turn slightly golden brown, we'll add our curry leaves. Now we cook everything first while constantly stirring every once in a while, and then we wait for a bit before adding the other stuff. Okay, now is the time to add our spices in here. So we're gonna add salt to taste. Then we're gonna add turmeric powder to give it the nice color. Then we're gonna add red chili depending on how spicy you like it. Then we're gonna add 2 spoonfuls of coriander powder. And we're gonna cook our spices properly. We're gonna wait for them to ooze out the oil. And then we're gonna add our veggies in here. Okay, so masala is cooked and ready. Now it's time to add our vegetables. And we're also gonna add a little bit of water to cook them properly. I'm gonna add them in batches to let them cook nicely. So in just a couple of minutes, our veggies are nice and cooked, and there is still some water left in here, but there's nothing to worry about, because once we add the semolina in here, it's going to soak up all the water. It's the same principle as cooking couscous as well. So when it comes to selecting the quantity of semolina, for me it's a bit difficult to explain that because I don't use weighing scales. I go by my gut feeling of how much is enough. So since I want to make 2 dishes out of the amount of semolina that I have, I'm going to use half of the pack for savory semolina and half of it for making the sweet version of it in the later part of this video. So let's start adding half of it by reducing the flame, and then we have to add water to let it cook. You can adjust the water depending on how dry this is. For example, if it's not mixing properly, you can add more water to it. And now we just have to let it cook for a couple of minutes. It cooks really fast. That's why even for breakfast, it's very easy to make it. And all the water is going to disappear really quickly. You're going to see that. And that's why it's even easy to pack it in your tiffin box and bring it for, let's say, a picnic or outdoors, anywhere that you want to bring it with you. It's very easy to carry around as well. And just like that, in just a couple of minutes, the entire water has been absorbed by the semolina and it's ready to eat. You can adjust the amount of water depending on how dry or how wet you'd like it, but I'd keep it slightly soggy because as it cools down, it's gonna get drier and drier. That's the way semolina acts as well. So now it's ready to be plated and enjoyed for breakfast, brunch, dinner, depending on whenever you're enjoying it. So let's serve it and enjoy it. So before we proceed with the sweet version, I'm just gonna sit and enjoy the savory version here. As you can see, smelling really nice. You can garnish it with fresh coriander if you have access to it, but here in Finland, fresh coriander is not that easy to find. Also, I normally like to pair it with cucumber. Here they have individual plastic packaging for each of the cucumber, which I find funny every time I go to the supermarket. But yeah, that's pretty much how I like to enjoy it. That's we call it upma, this savory version. So it's suji upma or semolina upma, and it's good to be eaten anytime during the day, and you can pair it with whatever. Some people, I think, even add tomato ketchup on top of it, which I absolutely hate. So I'm gonna enjoy it with cucumber, and then I'm gonna see you in the second half of this video where we're gonna start making an Indian dessert out of this. So see you soon and stay tuned. Okay, so after enjoying a nice savory semolina suji upma, now it's time to make our sweet version or the dessert, which is also known as suji ka halwa or semolina halwa. The fun fact is, in India you also find this in Sikh temples, in the Gurudwaras, which used to be one of the favorite highlights of visiting the Sikh temples in India. And you also find them in some of the Sikh temples overseas also. And I really like making this at home because semolina is also really high in protein and fiber. So I absolutely love consuming it in different forms. This dessert, you can make it a sugar-free version, and it's very high in nuts because, as you will see in the ingredients, I put a lot of nuts in it. So it's really healthy for you, and it's really good for the winter. So let's see what ingredients we need for making this. Okay, so this is a nice and healthy nut mix of walnuts, almonds, raisin. You can even add dates, pistachios, almost any dry fruit that you feel like adding. Don't try to do the experiment that I did. I almost threw in apricots at some point in the early days, but it didn't turn out too well. Now, we're going to put this into the ghee once it's melted. In the meantime, we're going to pop open these cardamom seeds so that you can get a nice aroma. It's very simple. Just pop it open and then just throw it in there. Nothing special. So if you have a rolling pin, in the Indian cuisine and Italian cuisine, normally we have rolling pins at home, or any heavyweight. Just use it to crush them open so that they pop open a little bit, and then just throw it in the ghee and toast everything. And we're gonna toast everything into the ghee first, and once they are nice and toasted, we're gonna remove and proceed further. Since I don't have a heavyweight, normally what I like to do is either you could use the base of the bowl to crush it, or you could roll it over like this to crush them open. So either way works. You see, nice and easy, all done. Okay, so now the ghee is melted and nice and warm, so we're gonna start throwing in our nuts into here. You can throw everything at once and start roasting them. Okay, so after roasting them for a couple of minutes, they are now nice and very aromatic. So what we have to do is we have to remove all the dry fruits, roasted dry fruits, in some container or dish, and add more ghee and start making the halwa. So let's remove them first. Okay, now we have to add lots and lots of ghee. And by lots and lots, I mean take a really big serving of ghee, and when you think you've added too much, add a little bit more than that. That's how I would explain lots and lots. Okay, and as soon as the ghee melts, we're gonna add the rest of the about half a kilo of semolina in there. And you could do this in mini batches and start roasting it around. You can add a bit more ghee if you think you need to, and then with a reduced flame start adding your sugar. So I'm gonna add in my honey in there. And I increase the amount of ghee I use for this, so I'm gonna start mixing it up again. Okay, increase the amount of honey if you think you need more sweeter. You can adjust the sweetness according to you. Then we can re-add our dry fruits back in there. And now we're gonna add water to it so that it starts to cook. And you want to add excess water in there to keep it soggy, because as I said in the savory upma part, this as it cools down it dries up a lot. So you want to keep it a little bit wet so that it's easy to eat, and especially if you keep it in the fridge. So what happens normally is people try to keep it really dry and they use very limited amount of water, and then of course you're not going to consume all of it in one go, so you can store it in the fridge. But the next time you use it, because the ghee solidifies inside the fridge and all the water is soaked up by the semolina, the next batch that you're going to consume is going to be very dry. So you want to add a bit excess water and keep it excess, so that it is sort of slimy to some extent when you're done cooking, and that's the right amount of consistency you want to have in halwa that you can enjoy in multiple batches. So we have added sufficient amount of water in it. We have reduced the flame to medium low. We're going to let it cook for a few minutes, and then I'll show you the final shape of the halwa. Okay, so the suji halwa or the dessert is now ready to be served. I like it at this consistency. So before I serve, I normally like to add a bit more garnish of cardamom powder for the nice aroma. And sometimes I also like to sprinkle some fresh raisins on the top. It's a personal preference. It depends on you how you like to serve it. So I'm going to start plating it now. So the sweet version of semolina, suji ka halwa, is now ready to be eaten. It's normally best to be eaten hot, but this is quite hot because I just literally pulled it off the stove. So I'm going to wait for it to cool down a bit. In the meantime, I'll wrap up this vlog. I hope you enjoyed the two versions of semolina, the savory one and the sweet one. If you end up making this recipe, do comment down below and let me know which of these versions or variants you ended up making or liking the most. And in the meantime, I'll enjoy my halwa in peace. With that, this is Rustic Wanderer signing off. I'll see you next time.